Oh, hi guys. Welcome to Spirit Guide's Tiki Thursday happy hour. I'm just trying to figure out which of these should be for you and which of these should be for me. But as it turns out, it's neither your tie, but it's Mai Tai, and it's Mai Tai Mania! Woo! Super excited about Mai Tais this week, clearly, as I went through a whole bunch of them, trying to find the right one, but I ended up going with a lei. So, let's get drinking, guys. Tools. Do we need to talk about tools? Let's talk about tools. If you don't have a shaker like this, you can use a jigger or a citrus press. A cutting board is also necessary today. I guess you could use your countertop with a knife. If you have an immersion blender, that is an exceptional thing for making the second cocktail, the Jim's Special, which we're going to learn all about later. A regular blender would also do just fine. If you don't have those tools, it's pretty basic this week, and I'm going to show you a couple substitutes that you can use. So if you don't have a shaker, you could use something like a mason jar, wide mouth, so that you can put ice in. You could also use like a water bottle with a wide mouth as well, anything like that. We don't really need to strain these drinks. They're tiki and they use crushed ice. So beat the ice up, dump it in a glass, it's going to be great. If you don't have a cutting board and knife, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe a butter knife would work.
Rip it in half.
Yeah, just use bare strength and shred it and then squeeze it and you'll be fine. Instead of a jigger, you can use a tablespoon, which is a ½ ounce, or you can use a liquid measure, like a little measuring cup. So that's kind of the tools that are necessary for today. Al is going to tell you all about Mai Tais, because it's his favorite thing in the world, is drinking tiki. So.
Well, thanks, Jeremy. Thank you. Really appreciate that.
Oh, wait. Al Malaika.
Oh, yes.
It's Al Malaika.
I'm transitioning in here. We're going to talk about the ingredients just for a second. If you're following along and you don't have one of our fab cocktail kits, that's all good. We are definitely recommending dark Jamaican rum today. Myers is excellent. Also, you're going to need some kind of tequila if you want to make the second drink properly. We love the Cazadores. That is the prescribed, but whatever you got, I'm sure it'll be fine. You're also going to need orange curacao or Cointreau, some sort of orange liqueur at the ready. And this is going to be important if you want to do the drinks this week and also next week. So hopefully you got some of that lying around. Simple syrup, if you didn't make it, make some right now. It's super easy. Sugar and water in equal parts. Combine them together. Dunzo. This also has something called orgeat syrup, which is made from almonds. You probably shouldn't make that right now. It will take you too long. But if you have some almond extract lying around, that's a decent sub. Well, we'll see. Never actually done it before, but I assume it's going to be just fine. This is a complicated week. We've got passion fruit syrup or puree. I'm assuming that if you guys wanted these cocktails, you probably bought a kit with us, which is great. For those of you who are visiting from outside of the LA area, it is definitely tiki weather here. It has been really hot today, so this is perfect. We're needing lots of limes, lots of ice, and fresh mint for a garnish. Optionally, a rum agricole is part of what makes a Mai Tai a Mai Tai if you want to be a purist, and you know I do. You can also sub a gold rum. So, I just was seeing this great little cocktail kit that was down here. We've been delivering these around LA. If you want to get one of these for next week or in the future, here's our URL for that. And we're going to be doing deliveries all around town. It has all the ingredients you need to make a great cocktail for yourself and 3 others. So hop on board. We're having a great time. This is a great week. You can call me Al. It's Al Malaika officially. And I've realized that I need to wear gloves because I just have this insatiable need to touch my tassel. I know what you're thinking. That guy's not even a real Shriner, and you're right. But it's Tiki time. It's our first quaran-tiki event. It's Tiki Thursdays, Thirsty Thursdays, and we're having a really, really great time. We're gonna make some Mai Tais, guys. And the Mai Tai has such an interesting story, as does all of Tiki. We're gonna keep it super, super brief, give you a Cliff's Notes version of this phenomenon that started right here in Los Angeles. Would you believe it? Well, believe it. Last week we had the Moscow Mule. This week we've got the Mai Tai. It comes to us from Oakland, but the Tiki movement itself began right here in Los Angeles. Now, the Mai Tai was one of those cocktails that just became ubiquitous in the world of tropical drinks. Everybody who had a bar during the 1940s, the 1950s, and the 1960s needed to have Mai Tai on the menu. This was really the dawning of modern marketing too, and when they realized, well, people don't really give a hell what it is, they just want to have that feeling of a tropical experience, some sort of escape, an escape from here to there. So there were so many, 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 many things that I'm sure you guys have seen that are called a Mai Tai, but are probably not anywhere close. We found a few recipes, a few old menus, excuse me, online. Take a look at some of these. I mean, you've got a 4-ounce rum drink there with 4 ounces of pineapple and orange juice. That's crazy. The Captain's Mai Tai has amaretto and tropical juices, a float of Myers, so at least that's somewhat approximating something. But even in Hawaii, when I visited there a couple of years ago, saw that they were doing things called a Mai Tai that were nothing even close. And as you can see there on the far side of your screen, this menu says the Mai Tai is Hawaii's national drink. Now, I gotta tell you, Hawaii didn't even know what the heck rum was until white people got there. This is not the national drink of Hawaii or anything. Those people were chewing up seeds and spitting them in a bowl, and that was how they were naturally fermenting things. The Mai Tai has very little to do with Hawaii, as do the Hawaiian shirts that we all sport during this fun and festive Tiki extravaganza. This is all being outsourced from Los Angeles through much of the middle of the 20th century. So the Mai Tai was a contribution by one man who you probably know. He's had a tropical drinks restaurant empire for many, many, many years beyond his time here on Earth, and his name was Trader Vic. Now, Trader Vic was an exceptional chef. He really understood flavor. Seen there talking to a woman who is probably not his wife, but he really had just a knack for flavor, and it was a great businessman. Trader Vic's were everywhere throughout the 20th century. A lot of them have been closing lately. In I believe it was the Beverly Hills Hotel, there is still the remnants of what once was a Trader Vic's. They still do some of these classic Tiki cocktails there. And until maybe about 5 years ago, there was one downtown as well. But during the 20th century, in the 50s and 60s, Trader Vic's were popping up all over the place. He really understood so much about not only having a good time, tropical drinks, but really what made all these beautiful flavors come together. So the Mai Tai, as he created it, and here's a couple other menus. This one, when this drink was only $1.85, tells us a little bit of the story. This means the best in Tahitian, which it does. When Trader Vic first made this drink, it was for a couple of friends of his that were visiting from Tahiti, and he just whipped it up using a 15-year-old Jamaican rum, and his friend is reported to have said Mai Tai about the drink, which means the best, or it's awesome. And it really was awesome at $1.85 a pop. I mean, am I right? So that recipe of a 15-year-old Jamaican rum, that rum is no longer being made. So what he did, even in his day, was he did a split base with the rum. What his predecessor, excuse me, Don Beach, who we'll talk about in a minute, used to say. He said, what one rum can't do, 3 rums can. And so this idea of split basing that we've been talking about the last couple of episodes, the idea that you can use different rums to get a totally different flavor is exceptionally prevalent in this cocktail. So if you are following along with the cocktail kit, or if you're doing this at home, we're definitely going to do a rum split base if you have two different rums to use. Let's take a look at the recipe. So this is it. We've got our 2 ounces of booze, but it's split up between our dark Jamaican rum and our rum agricole. Now, as mentioned last week when we were talking about French people and how they have to do everything exceptionally well, the rum agricole comes from the island of Martinique that was colonized by the French, and they make rum with an H. Rum. From the pressed juice of the sugarcane plant versus, let's say, a dark Jamaican rum from our dear friends at Caruba. Love Caruba. They make their rum, as do most other rum producers, from molasses. So there is a distinct difference. If you're trying both these rums tonight, you might want to just give a sniff test, or you might have a little extra to do a little taste test if you want. These are exceptionally different spirits. Rum, because of its nature, because it's typically grown in little small islands throughout the Caribbean, it has a different flavor palette based not only on the island that it was grown, but on the culture of Europeans that colonized those places. So the French brought their style of cognac making to Martinique. The English brought their style of big, bold whiskey making and gin making to the dark Jamaican rum. So you're also going to need that orange curacao. And here we have another little split base of the orgeat syrup with the simple syrup. And the original Trader Vic's recipe calls for the juice of 1 lime. It's not specified, but we're going to say about 1 ounce. So if you want to measure, go for it. We're just going to squeeze it in. This is tiki. It's visceral. It's crazy. It doesn't really need to be perfect.
It wears a hat.
It wears a hat. This is a lovely tiki totem and knife that my dear friend Elliot made for me. And we're going to cut open the lime with the sacred blade. We've done some fruit prep last week, but I just want to make sure that everyone's doing this correctly. When you cut open the piece of citrus, you want the ends to be facing sideways. So that when you cut it in half, it looks like a little wheel with little spokes. That's what you want. This is the best way to do the juice. Oh man. Here we go. It's happening. We're going to build the cocktail. You're making a Mai Tai, so cut open that lime and go ahead and press the whole thing into the tin. Putting it in with the cut side down. And we just give it a little squeeze.
Look at that juice.
Oh man. I love that we're now making you guys juice your own juice, because this is really where the rubber hits the road. This is bartender appreciation time, and just smell that spent shell. I mean, it's so good. I have a lime aftershave. That's how much I love the flavor of limes. That's not a joke. That's real. I'm so glad. It took us 4 weeks, but we finally got to a tiki show. Oh, great. Okay, so there's 1 whole lime in there. Excellent. So now, as we said before, we're going to build this from the bottom up using the least expensive ingredients. So we've got our lime. Now we're going to get our simple syrup. It's only 1/4 of an ounce, so if you're using a tablespoon, just a half a tablespoon. It's not very much. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm making a double.
Because no one should drink alone.
We're doing a double, so if you are too, go right ahead. Also, that's a good time to mention that if you bought the cocktail kit, you do not have to do the individual syrup measurements. It has already been done for you and combined into Mai Tai mix. So just hold that thought, and we're going to get into the Mai Tai mix, because it will become prevalent as we move along. Another lime for my friend. right, great. And I already did 2 of those. Okay. Actually makes it easier when you're building 2 of them because 1/4 ounce is a tough measurement. It's very little. Now we've got our orgeat syrup. We actually do our own homemade orgeat syrup. We love Liquid Alchemist though too. That's a great brand. Small Hand Foods is another excellent orgeat syrup if you're in the market.
We like our own though.
But this is pretty good. I've made a few different ones and I've not been as pleased with the other ones as I am with this. If you are building this without orgeat syrup, this would be a good time to note. Just double the simple and add a couple of drops of almond extract, which is very potent stuff. So we just want to get that little almond flavor. This is the basis of the Mai Tai, the lime, the almond, and our next ingredient, which is the orange liqueur. We're using a beautiful dry curacao from Pierre Ferrand. I don't know if you guys can see that. There we go.
Ah.
Oh, it's upside down, but... Oh, there we go. Why is it upside down, Al? Dry curacao. This stuff, these guys, we did their cognac last week. This is a exceptional company. Highly recommend them. So, if you're doing the kit, the orgeat, the simple, and the orange curacao are already combined. So rather than measure these ingredients separately, you can just do 1 full ounce of Mai Tai mix. And that's what a Mai Tai mix is from here on out. A little bit more. So, there we go. So now as we bring it back to my face for a second, I just want to be very, very clear. This is just the same thing that we've been doing since week 1, baby. We've got sweetness, we've got sour, and we've got spirit, all being combined in relatively the same ratio. You dig? You dig, pussycats? We've got our simple and our orgeat and our curacao, because that's a liqueur. Those are contributing the sweetness. The curacao is a little bit alcoholic, so this is going to be a little bit of a stronger drink. It's tiki, duh. And the juice of 1 lime is providing our citrus. This is just a split-base sour like everything else that we've been doing, man. Mixology. It's so fun, isn't it? This is where the riffing comes in. Trader Vic was a genius, man. You're going to see that in a second. Now we're going to do our rums. And rather than use something really, really expensive, which we can't get anymore, we're going to do a split base of, starting with our dark rum from Jamaica. We're using Karuba. Really love
Jamaica.
this stuff.
Ooh, I wanna make ya.
Oh, make ya. Like we're making this drink?
Yes.
I'm catching it. I'm catching it. This is a really, really great bottle. This 1 liter, you can get it for like $18 if you go to the right places. So if you're interested in getting some more of this, hit us up. We'll let you know where to go. This is really good and it's cheap. So 2 ounces for us because we're making it a double.
Why not a little more?
I was shy on my measurement there. And then we have Clement. Oops, that way. Clement VSOP rum.
Not cognac, everybody.
Not cognac. VSOP rum. Very special. What does it mean? I forget. If anyone wants
special old something.
Old partitions. If anyone wants to put me in my place, tell me what VSOP stands for. But you know it's fancy because it's French. This is such a different spirit from what we just put in. It really is the combination of these 2 things that make the Mai Tai. So there we go.
Very special old pale.
That's right. That's
pale.
right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Pale.
Old pale.
Old pale.
So we're gonna throw some ice in our tin. And with these tiki drinks, doesn't really matter. Crushed ice is just fine. Because we're just going to do the old shake and dump. No straining required. We got our 2 cocktails. And here we go.
Shake, 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 Sonora. Shake it all the time. Shake, shake, shake.
Oh! I'm being attacked by the scenery. I love this. This is the first time I've worn this hat. Fez. I told you I wasn't a real Shriner. And it's really fun to look at the little tassel like do a dance behind me.
Shout out to Jen Engine for the palm frond behind us hanging.
Thank you, Jen, for the palm frond. We don't know how you do it or why, but there you are.
Ooh, is that for me, Al?
Well, you may have whatever one you like. I've got a special cup from the Coconut Club. I think the Coconut Club is still doing stuff. The Coconut Club was a great tiki pop-up experience that was happening all around LA. I mean, they're not doing stuff right now, but I'm pretty sure they were doing some stuff. So if you want to make this look more full, add some more ice. It's no problem. And then we're gonna garnish it with our mint. We've been doing so many mint garnishes lately. If you guys are getting the kits, I just want you to know that there is a reason that we wrap up the mint in the little paper towel. Moist paper towel is the best way to keep fresh herbs. Whoops. To keep fresh herbs in their proper state. They can last for a really, really long time if you just give them a little moisture on a paper towel. So there we go. We've got our fresh mint fronds. You guys have got to be old hat at this by now. Bad baby. And voila! You guys have just made Trader Vic's Mai Tai, and I insist that it is awesome. And give yourself a little cheers. Well done. Sip strong. Sip
happy.
easy.
Oh, that mint. The aroma of mint.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a tasty drink.
Mm-hmm.
Graham the ground scraper says, "Oh damn, that's good considering how much alcohol is in that. That is smooth AF."
The thing about, yeah, it's smooth. It's real smooth. The thing about a well-made drink is that you think that you're not tasting alcohol a lot of the time, but in this case you really, really are. And if you have a little bit of that Martinique left, give yourself a little side sip of that, because that's the complete finish on this cocktail. You know, when you do a taste of something like a wine, something like that, you've got all the different parts of it. You've got the nose, you have the sip, you have the swallow, and then you have the finish. And so all of these are different parts of the flavor ride. Any wine snob will tell you this. So on the finish of this cocktail, you are just getting all of that beautiful quality of that Clement VSOP rum. It's just there. I don't really know how to describe it. It's a little bit earthy, a little bit kind of it's got that funk, that sweet, that nasty, that gushy stuff.
This is a cocktail show, not an erotic talk.
Sorry about that. I did have the honor of being at a party with Mr. Carter earlier this year, and I hope to repeat that event again soon. Wow. Well, Mai Tai, baby. That's how it's done. So this was just the cocktail that really put Trader Vic's on everyone's map, and also spawned so many, as I mentioned, knockoffs, people trying to copy what he did. They would go to his place, drink it, you know, but these guys were very, very cagey about their recipes. You know, back in those days, being a bartender was actually a reputable career move, unlike now where it's just something you have to do during quarantine on a video game feed. So, you know, a person's recipes and where they would go, that was their whole thing. You would hire a bartender based on what they actually brought along with them. Their knowledge, how to put together these drinks, what ingredients they needed. This was all the proprietary information of the bartender who was assembling it. So obviously when one thing started hitting and people just wanted to get some of what that is. So when you taste this, you can kind of see why maybe putting pineapple juice and orange juice makes sense because there's orange curacao. Amaretto was in one of those other menus, and it's like, yeah, it's that kind of nuttiness of the orgeat that they probably are emulating that with amaretto. But you know, this is the original way it was done, and using fresh ingredients, like we're always saying, is the way to go. Fresh almonds went into this cocktail, and fresh oranges and orange peels went into that great curacao, and of course fresh lime. So we're doing it. We're doing a thing. You're drinking like the pros now, and give yourself a round of applause.
Bravo! Bravo!
I love talking about tiki because I could just go on and on and on. It is just it's such a passion and a hobby of mine. Does anyone have any specific questions before I continue on with the rest of our exciting story for the evening?
Let's see, questions. Just a lot of excitement and enthusiasm. From the jokes that you have planned, it feels like we're drinking with the pros, spelled like P-R-O-S-E. Andrew,
That was all my partner Jeremy Needleman.
why did you slap the mint like a bad baby?
Oh, this must be a new person. We slap the mint like a bad baby because it's releasing the aroma of the mint.
The oils.
The oils, thank you. You're spanking the mint to get the oils that are just sitting there right underneath the surface of every leaf of that plant. As you smack it, they will come to life. Try it the next time you're cooking with some fresh basil or something like that. Just give it a little tap tap, and that pressure will release the aromatics of the oils, so that when you bring it to your face, you get that lovely minty smell on top of the rest of it. I think I'm gonna save some of mine so we can do this side by side later.
Oh, versus Oh, so my roommate thinks the drink a little stiff for him. Would adding club soda be an okay way to chill it out?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Always a good idea to add club soda. Yeah, this is a strong drink. And if you think this is strong, the next one's gonna. So, yeah, tropical drinks are pretty heavy-handed in the booze department. So if you're not especially used to having alcohol on the regular, that would be a good move. You could also try upping the citrus a little bit because we did do an unmeasured amount of lime, so it may be lacking in the brightness, which obviously adding some club soda would accomplish the same general effect.
Let's see. Kyle Real is requesting a serenade, which I think I'd be interested in a serenade.
A serenade.
Yeah, for his mom. So my mom is watching and says, "Yum for the rum," and now she's requesting a serenade.
Yum for the rum.
Yeah.
Let me think if I have anything tropical. All the tropical music I can think of is like languid ballads.
You like Malakaliki Ma?
Ah, there we go. Malakaliki Maka is the thing to say on a bright Hawaiian Christmas day. That's the island greeting that we send to you from the land where palm trees sway. Here we know that Christmas will be green and bright. The sun will shine all day and all the stars at night. So Melakaliki Maka is Hawaii's way to say Merry Christmas to you. Oh yeah, little harmony boys for all of our unfortunate depraved fans. Man, that was tasty. Well, I'm going to continue because I know that the rest of what I have to say is going to take us right up to the buzzer. I mentioned that Trader Vic was kind of he was the guy who was able to take tiki and make it a very, very mainstream thing. But there was one dude of whom the whole world of tiki essentially ascended out of. And that man's name was Ernest Raymond Beaumont Gant, better known as Don Beach. He had it legally changed. But Don Beach started Don the Beachcombers the day after Prohibition ended in 1934, right here in our fair city of Los Angeles. Don Beach was a very, very strange guy. Seen there shaving some coconuts for 4 women who I'm sure he's definitely not married to. But he had just a knack for understanding this idea of traveling. He traveled all over the place, and he spent a bunch of time just traveling the world, going to different islands. He was a beachcomber. He combed the beaches of islands all over the world, and he brought together all of these strange artifacts from all over the place. He spent a lot of time in the Caribbean. His grandfather, I believe, was actually responsible for a lot of the rum running that happened during Prohibition. They were bringing it up through ports in Louisiana from the Caribbean, from Cuba and other places like that during Prohibition. So as a child, he spent a lot of time hanging out with his grandfather, going down to the Caribbean islands. So he had a real taste for these Caribbean drinks, and he landed in LA sometime in the 1920s, early 30s, and got a job actually as a set decorator on movies. So if they needed some tropical set, they would just know to call Ernest or Don Beach, and he would decorate their place with all this stuff that he'd found from all over the world. These totems, these tiki totems that were basically the gods of the Hawaiian Islands and other places. I'm sure you've all seen the Easter Island statues. But in 1934, Don decided that he was going to open a bar, and he was going to make rum rhapsodies, as he called them, in this little bar in McCadden Place, right off of Hollywood Boulevard. It's not there anymore, obviously. It was a very, very small operation, but he was serving rum cocktails inside of this Polynesian environment, 2 things that just kind of had never been put together before. It didn't make a lot of actual historical sense, but the hunger for travel, for escape, for going someplace exotic, Frank, that overrode everything, and Don the Beachcombers was the hot spot to get drinks. At any given night, you could be drinking with Buster Keaton, Orson Welles, all of the celebrity elites were there, and Don was very, very cagey about everything that he did. He was so cagey, in fact, that he put 4 Filipino guys in the back room, and he said, okay, you guys combine these ingredients, and he would label the bottles with mysterious things that they couldn't even decipher themselves. So it wouldn't say cinnamon syrup, it would say like Don's Mix, or Don's Spices number 2, I believe, is like it's like a vanilla syrup or something like that. He was so close to the chest, definitely a man after my own heart. He just didn't want to let anything go. It was all his creation. And one of these guys who was working in the back room for him, making these drinks for then Don to present them to the celebrities, one of these Filipino boys, the 4 boys as they were called, was a man by the name of Ray Buhen. And here is Ray Buhen, one of LA's own, inside of his new spot during the time, which is called Tiki-Ti. Now, very, very important news. Tiki-Ti is actually celebrating its, what would it be? Almost, I can't do math right now. 70, 80, 90, Next year it'll be 60 years of Tiki-Ti. That's crazy. April 28th, it was the anniversary day. In 1961, Ray Buhen opened Tiki-Ti on Sunset Boulevard, right near the weird intersection where Los Feliz and Hollywood and Echo Park kind of all come together right there. That was Ray seen with his son Mike, and Mike still runs the place with his son, Mike Jr. And this was a family establishment, so family established that they actually got grandfathered into all sorts of crazy clauses, and until very, very recently when Tiki-Ti closed, for an undiscriminate period of time, you could actually smoke indoors because it was just a family-run establishment that had been in the family and family-owned and operated since 1961. So Tiki-Ti is an exceptionally cool bit of history. It's a place that you gotta go. If you haven't been, when they reopen their doors, definitely go and check it out. I'm sure they're gonna be slammed once quarantine is over. So Tiki-Ti provides a local thread for us here in LA that reaches all the way back to Don the Beachcombers and the original tropical drink movement that we are all experiencing. Trader Vic himself went to Don Beach and said we should partner up, and Don Beach told him to get lost. And so Trader Vic decided to do his thing way, way, way better, at least from a business perspective. But we obviously owe all of the credit in the world to Don Beach and what he brought to the world with these tropical drinks. So Tiki-Ti has been around for quite a long time, and it's always been a dream of mine to be a barfly, to be a local, to be just a person who is known for going to a special place. And Tiki-Ti has one of those such peoples. The norm to their cheers. At Tiki-Ti, if you go, you may see Rasta Jim. And there he is. I found these photos on Google. Rasta Jim, big shout out. He's a celebrity there, and he is there pretty much every day at 4 o'clock, at least every Wednesday at 4 o'clock, right when the bar opens, seen there drinking from his signature mug, drinking more than likely his signature cocktail. Because Rasta Jim has been going to Tiki-Ti for so long that he actually has his own drink on the menu. I mean, look at this. Look at this. Next slide, please. There it is. Jim's Special. And Jim's Special was a creation of Mike Bowen, who was Ray's son, and Mike Jr. I had a little typo, I think, on the cards that we sent out. I attributed this drink to Ray, but it was actually Mike who created this drink, obviously with the help of Jim, telling them that this drink just wasn't gonna cut it. He needed more. He needed exceptionally more from this cocktail. And so they just kept playing around, amping it up, finally landing on the following recipe, which is courtesy of Jeff Berry. This is Jim's Special, a Tiki-Ti original. And this, folks, is one serving of the cocktail. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, that's a lot of liquor. And it is, but that's why you pay $18 for it. So,
It's actually cheap, comparatively.
Comparatively, it's quite cheap. We hope we're offering you guys a good deal. We are going to only make one of these and split it, which is what is in the cocktail kits if you have them. It's certainly more than enough after you've already had a Mai Tai. I'm sure you'll be feeling good. But if you do go to Tiki-Ti, this is basically what you get when you go there. And as you can see, this is basically a Mai Tai. If you just take every other ingredient from the Myers Dark Jamaican rum, you've got 2 ounces of rum, 1 ounce of lime juice, and 1 ounce of that Mai Tai mix, which is a trade secret there at Tiki-Ti, but what is recommended is what we already did for the Mai Tai. 1/2 ounce of curacao, 1/4 ounce of simple, and 1/4 ounce of orgeat syrup. So this is a Mai Tai exactly, except for we are adding 1 ounce of passion fruit syrup and 2+ ounces, you can go up as high as you want, up to 3, of Cazadores Reposado Tequila. We're using Myers and Cazadores because that is what Jim insists on. And if you go to Tiki-Ti, he will tell you all about this for longer than you even can imagine. Longer than me talking about it. All right, so why don't we go ahead and do the build of Jim's Special. We've got a couple special tropical tiki mugs for this one. Ooh. Now, one thing that we gotta do before we do anything at all is this drink has a little bit of extra lime added to it. So before, when I said you got to cut it kind of that way, we're going to make a lime wedge. So if you have a full lime, turn it the other direction and make a cut. And then give yourself a little angle on that. You know, just imagine about 60 degrees. And give yourself a little lime wedge, just like that. That just coming through. Whoop. Oh, oh, oh. It's so bright up there. There we go.
It's your aura. Your aura.
It's the tiki. So you have to start this drink by squeezing a lime wedge into your glass. So I'm doing 1/2. You can do it like that. You can add another one if you want. I mean, why not? There's nothing wrong with more fresh lime juice in this case. There's so much going on in this drink, as you will soon experience. Okay, great. So now, if you're building this at home with the cocktail kit, you already have a 2-ounce bottle of Jim's mix that has the curacao, the simple, the orgeat, and the passion fruit already combined. This is one of those cases where I would say if you were doing this kit alone, go for it, man. Just do the whole thing. Like, why not? This is the day. This is the day for it. Pretend like you're at Tiki-Ti and you just ordered an $18 cocktail. That's a double serving. So I'm going to make the full amount step by step. But if you've got the kit, you can just hold for 1 second. Going to, oh, whoops, I'm sorry.
I would like to, I like what's going on in this chappy right now. From 70, I will drink your death Kool-Aid. And I'm confused by Graham's comment. I'm foregoing for it. Are you foregoing it or are you going for it, Graham? I would like to know.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Are you doing the full double serving?
I would say, yeah, at your leisure. But if you are not doing the double, just measure, half of everything that you got, basically. You can do a 1/2 ounce of the Mai Tai mix, or of the Jim's mix, excuse me. I'm sorry, 1 ounce of the Jim's mix. This is where all the equations are breaking down. All right, so I'm gonna build this actually in our little mason jar here because I'm gonna do an immersion blend on it. You can just shake this drink with ice again. It's not a big deal, but I just wanna show off a little bit of the blender fun. So I'm gonna build it in here, but you can just do it in your shakers. So if you're doing it by yourself and you wanna make the full serving, you're gonna need a 1/4 ounce of simple, a 1/4 ounce of orgeat, 1 full ounce.
Magic bullet shit? I'm like, yeah, maybe.
Magic bullet.
Use a magic bullet.
I don't think this drink killed John Kennedy. No.
No, there's a. Actually, I personally know.
Oh, never mind. I'm sorry, I got confused.
Who invented the magic bullet blender? He's a dick, but that's neither here nor there. But. Yeah,
so
you can do a flash blend of the magic bullet.
You can definitely do a flash blend of the magic bullet. You don't want to blend it for too long. It's like a 5-second dealio. So I just made Mai Tai mix with a 1/4 ounce of simple, a 1/4 ounce of orgeat, a 1/2 ounce of our orange curacao or Cointreau, and 1 full ounce of the passion fruit. Can we look at the recipe again, just to be sure? I want everybody to make sure they're getting this. So there's our 1 ounce of Mai Tai mix, 1/2 ounce curacao, 1/4 ounce simple, 1/4 ounce orgeat, and 1 ounce of the passion fruit syrup combined. I mean, that alone is just delightful. I will have you know that what you are smelling right there, if you were taking a pause to smell it, we are going to make our own passion fruit Mai Tai mix. We have it on our website. We've sold one. If you guys love this drink, we are doing it as a sales item in homage to Tiki-Ti. It's got the passion fruit that we're using fresh passion fruits for. We've got fresh limes. It's got our own homemade orgeat syrup. We tried it the other day with basically 2 ounces of the syrup, or 2 ounces of the mix, excuse me, 1 ounce tequila, 1 ounce rum, and it was bomb. So you can make more of this great stuff with our special mix if you like. That smells delightful. Okay, so now we're gonna do our lime juice. Oh, we have this lime that's left over, so we might as well waste not, want not. And we're gonna need to measure this lime. We want to make sure that we get a full measured ounce of lime juice. It's one of those moments that it takes a little bit more time to do it this way, but that is just what it's all about. You get the satisfaction of doing it yourself. DIY. I'm going to move that over there. I have a smaller workspace today than I'm used to, so just want to be safe. Cutting the limes. Mine's a 3/4 here on the top, so there's one. Yeah, let's just add a little more, like so. There we go. And just a little bit more for good measure. 1 ounce of lime juice to 1 ounce of passion fruit to 1 ounce of the Mai Tai mix. Now we're talking. Now we're talking, friends. All right. So if you have the kit at home, you can just measure that Jim's mix and then add fresh lime juice in the correct proportion. All right, we're going to do the spirits now, and this is what Jim Marshall himself insists on. Even though Myers is not my favorite dark rum, I like Karuba better. This is what he says you got to do it with. So we're going to honor that, and we're going to do 2 ounces of the Myers dark rum. Or you can cut that in half if you're having a half serving. Blammo. And then Cazadores Reposado Tequila. Oops, sorry. The one with the deer on it.
It's a stag.
This, once again, is a split base, and you might think that this is crazy to put dark Jamaican rum and Reposado Tequila into the same cocktail, especially when you're doing 4+ ounces. And I would say, you are right, and did you see that guy? I mean, obviously, we're going crazy. This is what you gotta drink if you want to be a member of the Rastafarian Tiki Army. Now, we're gonna do a full 2 ounces, but certain recipes that I've seen of this do call for more tequila. So if you want to go all the way up to 2.5 ounces, you can add a little bit more. If you're following along with the kit, there is probably a little bit more that you can work with. Oh man, I am telling you what, this is brilliant. Jim himself would describe this drink, and has described it to me personally, as it's like a Mai Tai, only drier. The flavor of this is a lot less sweet for some reason, even though there's a full other ounce of passion fruit syrup. There's something about the combination of that, the tequila, the rum, everything that's going on that actually makes this come across as like pretty dry cocktail. All right, I've talked a lot. I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. We're gonna do this with some crushed ice and do a rapid immersion blend. You can also get yourself a fancy Waring blender. This is my vintage Waring blender from the 1950s. And this is the reason why we have frozen margaritas, folks. So check that out. But we're gonna use this fun little tool called a Smart Stick by Cuisinart. And we're just gonna do a 5-second flash blend with the ice. So this is a very common technique in tropical drinks. If you're just doing shake, go for it. Shake. Do it now! 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that's it. We distribute evenly or as evenly as we think we should, based on the client's state of mind. And we'll add a little more crushed ice on the top. Boom!
Look at that.
And there we go.
That
And
is
now,
magic in a glass.
normally I wouldn't say that we should use the lame rubber maraschino cherries, but if you got a little rubber maraschino red cherry, skewer it with a toothpick and a pineapple wedge. And this is the Tiki-Ti signature dinner and a meal that they give you when you have every Tiki-Ti cocktail. Right. So you're having an authentic LA tropical drink. And we're gonna do, let's just skewer the cherries first. These really tasty Luxardo cherries are great, and I would normally always recommend them over the rubbery ones. But if you got a rubbery one, you're in luck. Because this is the
PG-13, keep it PG-13.
if you got a rubbery one, this is the Tiki-Ti signature dinner that you get. It's saved many a life, just having a little pineapple and a little cherry on top to complement your 4 ounce of alcohol cocktail. Oh no, I lost it. There we go. So just do a little skewer with a toothpick. Is that coming across?
Yeah.
Skewering it. Oh.
Look at that. Oh yeah.
This is
There
gonna
we
be
go.
mine. There we go. Little fun cherry on top of a pineapple garnish. So, big time happy birthday to Tiki-Ti. Tiki-Ti still going strong, still family owned, doing it up since 1961. April 28th, next week, before we meet again, is their birthday. So give those guys a big shout out. They're at Tiki-Ti 1961 on Instagram. Go ahead and take this one. Cheers. Social distance cheers to my dear friend and partner, Jeremy. This was a really fun class. I had a blast doing this with you guys. Well, let's have a quick taste. We'll take some questions, and then we'll wrap it up. If anybody's got anything to ask, anything to add, I know you're going to love this.
Oh, that's tasty. It's too good for how much booze is in it.
That's absolutely diabolical.
Yeah, that's very good.
That's one of those drinks that just like, wait, what?
What's the point, Dr. Painhammer likes to know, what's the point of putting the lime in the glass first like that?
Putting the lime in the glass first is just adding another extra layer of citrus juice. It's kind of to balance out. I think we're adding a lot of extra sugar to this cocktail with that extra whole ounce of passion fruit. This is just a prescribed recipe that Jeff Berry has detailed in another fabulous book called Sippin' Safari, and he goes into exceptional detail. I'm stealing most of this information from him. So if you want to read more about this particular drink and also more tiki cocktail history, Sippin' Safari is a great book by Jeff Berry. He also wrote, which I've promoted before, my favorite book, Potions of the Caribbean. I know, I'm like a broken record with this book, but if you're interested in tropical drinks at all, this is this is the tome. A lot of stuff about the Mai Tai, the proper Mai Tai recipe is in there. So yeah, I think that it's probably, it's just a palate thing. I don't really think it is one of those things that you have to do. It's not going to ruin the drink. But we're just seeking balance here, you know? Again, as complicated as this all was and as long as it took to build, we're just working with the exact same principles of sweet, sour, strong, and then shaking it with ice, adding dilution, adding that weak element. This goes back so far to punch and to you know, making giant vats of alcoholic punch for people. So we're just playing with the same kinds of ratios. And what I love about tropical drinks, about tiki, is that it's just the experimentation on this basic theme. There's nothing that you can't add to a drink to give it another dimension, another flavor. The passion fruit in this with the tequila, I mean, like, I never would have thought of that, but somebody did, and it works beautifully well. So if you want to go back and do the side-by-side, our original Mai Tai, it's probably pretty diluted right now. It's pretty diluted.
I think I like Jim's special a little more.
But that is, I mean, this is what you pay $20 for here in LA. So, well, we want to thank you guys for following along. We're gonna wrap it up here. If you want any answers to any of your burning questions, leave them on the feed. We want to just say cheers from Jim and all the other guys at Tiki-Ti. We found this great photo of them, and so the next time that you're at Tiki-Ti, you may see Jim, and if you do see him, you can ask him for some of his kibble. Can we see the picture? There it is. So there's Jim on the far side with some of the other Tiki-Ti regulars, and he actually brings his own little trail mix. It's like a Gardetto's that he makes himself, and he brings it to the Tiki-Ti because they're not a restaurant by any means. But you can get some of Jim's kibble, have a Jim special. I look forward to the day where we can all hang out again. And actually, this month we were going to do something very, very special at Spirit Guides. Obviously, that has been indefinitely postponed. However, I want to use this opportunity to plug our very own Magical Miss Tiki tour. And thanks to Scott Class for the excellent graphic. We are doing a Tiki bus tour of the different spots in LA. We are going to take people around from spot to spot, give a lot more of this history, get more in detail. The drinks will all be included, and there will be food along the way. So this was our vision for what was the next step of our company. Obviously, things have changed, perhaps for the better. We're having a great time doing this live stream and building these cocktail kits. So we thank you guys for participating, but maybe one day we'll have the Magical Miss Tiki tour coming at ya. There it is again.
Wait, can you duck behind the... I just want to... There we go. Great.
Could you just...
Disappear.
Could you just go away? We got to change that flyer, though, I think, because Jeremy Needleman no longer has the beard. I mean, he's got to maybe get the update with the mustache. We'll talk, Scott. We'll talk. I think Scott is following along. So, thanks again, guys. This was a super fun show. I hope that you're, I'm sure you're feeling tipsy if you've had 2 of these drinks by now. And next week, we are going to have a lot of fun. It's Cinco de Drinko, the mixed up history of the margarita. We're going to break down the margarita. We're going to do our version of the margarita, and then we're going to do something that's exceptionally cool that is a spicy margarita variation that I am just going to flat out say it. I think it's the best drink that we have ever done. So if you guys want to follow along, we're going to break down lots of the myths and the weird history about Cinco de Mayo and the weird history about the margarita and show you a little bit of the behind the scenes of how things have gone on.
From Schmin. Well, sounds offensive, but still down. I told you!
We were wondering if this was culturally insensitive Al coming through.
There's a lot. We had a huge discussion about
it was a big discussion. I think that it's okay. And I do have the authority of one actually Mexican citizen.
That's even more offensive. You can't say that on house.
Who said, no, he's a Mexican citizen. He lives in Mexico, and he is Mexican. And he told me that Mexico doesn't even celebrate Cinco de Mayo. And yet we do here in America. Why? Because we like to have an excuse to drink. So we're going to show you how to drink better margaritas. We're going to break down a little bit of the history and misconceptions about the day and about the margarita. If you want to follow along, you'll need tequila, lime, orange curacao or Cointreau, just like today, so move that forward. You're going to need some agave syrup, and then also some avocado, cilantro, spicy peppers, and if you want to do our special version at home, you got to get some mezcal and liqueur 43. So if you're interested in buying a kit, we've got our kits available. We're going to post this tomorrow on our Instagram, so check it out now. And that's pretty much what we got. That's next week. Get you prepped for Cinco de Mayo in the only way that we know how. So thanks again for coming, guys. There's our links down there. Tune in next week, same time, same crazy place. Thanks for hanging out a little bit longer tonight, and we will catch you on the flip for some margaritas.